In the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA097.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do.
And we're back. We're fast forwarding to Wednesday. It is now October 25th.
Yeah. You can listen to it whenever. Everything's fine. No one needs to know that.
You keep ruining this for me, Taylor. I'm working this
No one
shit.
cares. I mean, we're supposed. Are we? Do you want to be? This is the day we're doing this. We can talk about that.
I don't know. We should talk about it.
I like it. I like your shtick. Continue.
Thank
do
you.
it.
Thank you.
Do it again.
So we're rejoining you on Wednesday. This is October 25th. I'm Pars. I'm joined here by Taylor, and we are listening to Doomed to Fail. And I'm going to dive into the true crime side of Doomed to Fail today. And I don't know what's gotten into me, but I've been like super into like the Soviet bloc era or whatever region territory of like criminals. And so I'm going back there because, as I mentioned on Monday, Obolon is my drink today, which is Ukraine's favorite beer. In reality, I'm actually drinking Topo Chico Ranch water. It's hard seltzer. It's really good. Actually, it's not really good. I'm just drinking it because it's popular. Yes.
When in Austin, at several places, I was like, "Can I have seltzer water?" And they were like, "Oh, you mean Topo Chico?" Like, I'm the asshole. And I was like, "Yes."
To like trying to be all fancy seltzer water.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, look how pretty the can is.
That's cool.
It's pretty.
It is very pretty. We love Russia. We love Russian history. I don't know.
Serial killers, love them all. So
yeah, that's it.
We are going not to Russia, but to Ukraine, which was part of the Soviet bloc back in the Soviet era.
Mm-hmm.
So the events we'll be discussing occurred at a modest-sized city in Ukraine, about 1 million people. And during the time of the events, the name of the city was, okay, this is the other thing, Taylor, I thought of. I was like, why do I keep picking places where I can't pronounce anything? Because I was watching a video of someone talk about these names. I was like, okay, just like phonetically remember how that guy said that name. And then like now I'm about to read the name of the city and I'm like, fuck, I don't know how to say that name. But we're gonna barrel through, okay? Everybody just use your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the subject matter expert, okay? Don't forget that. I'm the one who counts here. I'm what matters. So the name of the city was Dnipropetrovsk. It's just consonants. I don't get it. It's like I don't understand. It's like 15 characters and like there's 3 vowels. Like how is that a word?
I mean, I don't have any context for like languages that have non-Roman alphabets, but you do, right? Like, can you read Farsi?
No, I'm totally illiterate. Completely and
Really?
utterly illiterate. Yes.
But you speak it.
Yeah, I speak it.
You can read it.
But I can't read it.
Yeah, because I think there's like I don't pretend to understand the translation between like a Russian character and like the letter A, you know.
So you know what's funny?
Plot.
Okay, so I can speak Farsi, but I can't read or write it. I can read and write Russian, but I can't speak it. Because I learned Cyrillic in college when I was in Russian class. And so I can actually write it, but I can't speak it.
That makes no sense.
Join us next week for more fun Farsi trivia. Okay, so that was the name of the city is the thing that I almost kind of set up there, but it doesn't matter. This part of the story doesn't actually matter because the name of that city was changed in 2016. It is now a very simple Dnipro. That's the name of it. Dnipro.
Great.
Easy peasy. This has nothing to do with our story, but I found the history kind of fascinating, so I'm going to tell you about this, Taylor. So in 2015, the president of Ukraine signed a law that forced the removal or renaming of anything associated with the communist era of the Soviet Union. So you know, like progressive people now want to take down like statues. They did that. They made that a law in Ukraine that anything that had to do with the Soviets had to be taken down. And so the suffix of the original name, which I just pronounced incredibly well, was actually added to the city in 1926 and was done so in honor of a Communist Party leader named Grigory Petrovsky. So
love it.
Once decommunization law passed, all references of Grigory were removed, including the suffix name of the city, which is now called Dnipro. Easy peasy.
Got it.
So anyways, has literally nothing to do with the story. On to the story.
That happens all the
So,
time, right?
my segues.
No, 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 no. I mean, like especially like in Russia, that like wasn't Stalingrad like Leningrad, and now it's like something else.
Is it St.
It's obviously
Petersburg?
not Stalingrad. Maybe because it maybe was St. Petersburg and then Stalingrad and then you know what I mean. Like that. I feel like that happens all the time.
Yeah, yeah. It's like who even cares at this point? Just name it, Greg. Move on with your lives. So, on to the story. Today, we are covering a relationship from hell, which resulted in the brutal murder of 21 innocent people, and they were all committed by two 19-year-olds. So, I'm going
Ew.
to be discussing
I don't know what was you
the.
about that. But keep going.
Well, it's not good. It wasn't like flowery and lovely and butterfly.
I know. I said ew after. I mean, I think I meant it to be about the 21 people, but then it came out after the 19-year-olds, and yeah, no. But then I was also like amazed that they're only 19.
Yeah, it's kind of impressive, actually.
Anyway, it was yeah, like I don't know.
Like, good for them. They
It's a
really
lot of people
had.
for being that young.
They follow their dreams. You gotta give them
I have
credit.
dreams.
So we're going to be discussing
Okay.
the Dnepropetrovsk Maniacs. Okay, that name's I didn't do good on that. But if the name isn't familiar, the name of the film they created probably is. This is like the I'm gonna add like creepy music here before like maybe like lightning crash or something.
Okay.
The name of the film is entitled Three Guys, One Hammer.
Ooh,
You know what I'm talking about?
I've not seen that.
You don't want to see
No.
it. This is an actual film. I'm gonna go super into the details here later, but this is one of those things where it's like you just you don't want your eyes to ever record this imagery. I did not watch this, by the way, so
Hmm.
I'm only going off of like what other people said after they did watch it in terms of what's on the video, and I just don't need that living in my fucking
Hmm.
head, so I'm not gonna watch it. So, anyways,
Yeah.
we are going to start with our perpetrators first and foremost. First, we have Victor Sayenko, which I'm going to refer to as Victor because Russian names are hard to say. Victor's childhood really wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst amongst insanely violent people, but his wasn't great. His dad was a factory worker who was working constantly trying to support his family, and when he wasn't working, he was doing the Russian pastime of drinking. The mom seemed to not be able to connect very well with Victor, and so he was basically just left on his own. He had siblings, and his parents to whatever extent they paid attention to any of them, paid attention to the siblings, and Victor was kind of left on his own. He turned out to be like a
Hmm.
pretty unremarkable student. Like he was just a nothing. He was a nobody. You know what's funny is it reminded me of like my remember last week I told you my high school reunion happened, my 20 year, and I was like looking at
Uh-huh.
pictures and I was like, who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that? Who the fuck? I was like, even when I read the name, I was like, man, like you were just like a total non-entity in high school. I have no fucking, I could have sat next to these people in homeroom and had no clue. So that's what this kid reminded me of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And a lot of
But
people are like that and they don't murder people, and it's fine. Like I'm a nobody to most people, except like you and my children. You know, so whatever.
only to those three humans and one, four to four
And
people.
one, four.
But this kid like basically yeah, he was basically a nobody. He was super isolated. He was bullied. He was a fucking loser, basically. And he had no ability to really fit in with anyone. And like with everyone that falls in this category, he got super withdrawn and got like into like violence and like gore websites. Like, you remember Rotten.com?
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
classic. Yeah. Like, I mean, I definitely was a victim of Rotten.com. And so, as were most people. And so he basically fell down this pattern of like not having any friends, not having anybody to socialize with, being ignored by everybody, and then he starts forming violent ideations and starts reinforcing them with visiting shock sites on the internet, essentially. So
Hmm.
that's the start of the origin story for Victor. He would move on to make friends with the next perpetrator we're going to discuss. His name is Igor Saprunyuk. Fucking nailed that one. So Igor and Victor were the
Love it.
same age, and Igor was actually born on Hitler's birthday, which he was like weirdly proud of. Like this comes up over and over again in these fucking videos they would make of like at one point like they would hold like a toothbrush up to like their nose to make like a Hitler stash, and they would do the Sig
Oh.
Heil, and they would like draw Nazi swastikas with the blood of animals. Like, they were like weirdly into Hitler. I don't. Russia's What's kind of weird thing? Like, the underground there with like fascism is like really scary.
I just learned something really weird about fascism and where the word comes from, but it has to do with what I'm talking about next week, so I'll tell you then. But I was like, oh, put a pin in that.
This is like a really good lead in to next week. So if you want to learn, listener, what fascism originates from, don't look it up. We will tell you next week. So
Just
join in
wait.
next week.
Yeah.
Just wait. Just wait. Tell your friends.
Hmm. Hmm.
So with Igor, he also had an alcoholic mother, an absentee father. He was also mercilessly bullied at school. So, one thing I thought about when I went down a side rabbit hole here, Taylor. So as I was like going through and
Hmm.
reading about these kids, it literally reminded me of like school shooters. And I thought to myself, I was
Yeah.
like, dude, like if you have a kid and he's bullying or she's bullying another, like fucking beat the shit out of your kid. Like you have my permission. If your kid is bullying another kid, beat the shit. Like kids who are
I don't think
victimized.
I don't think that's the way it's supposed to work.
Listen, I know more about raising children. Listen, I'm telling you guys how to do this.
Okay.
But like,
Cool.
I legitimately think that like kids being victimized is like most of why things go wrong later on in life. Like, it's all really kind of. I was reading about the Uvalde kid, the kid who shot up that school, the elementary
Hmm.
school, and he apparently had a stutter. And his parents couldn't afford to buy him like nice clothes, and so he only had like a limited wardrobe. So kids just fucking mercilessly bullied that kid. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying like there's reasons why people do the things they do.
No, I mean I don't know because I feel like I like read like when after like I don't know, there's so many school shootings. It's horrific. After one of them, someone was like, "You should be nice to people who are not like you." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, it's not everybody else's responsibility to make sure someone isn't a school shooter. You know, plenty of people get bullied and don't shoot everybody.
Yeah,
So I think some of it might be like,
there's
is it,
outliers. My point is, why even? You're right. I could get drunk and drive my car 100 miles per hour on the highway. A lot of times, I'm not going to crash. But why fucking risk? Like, why bother? Like, what? Just if your
yeah,
kid is being a dick,
fine. Like, yeah,
beat the
I
shit out
get
of
it.
your kid.
Yeah,
Like, literally, just
don't do
you
that.
just
But like,
you
get help. Get help. Yeah.
I looked at the Adam Lanza kid, and he was also one of those kids who just fucking sat in his. He darkened his room. He would put trash bags up on the window so light wouldn't come in. He'd just sit at home and play video games of like shooting people. And so, like again, like don't let your
Yeah.
kids self isolate. Like these are not good. Anyway, whatever. PSA over.
Yeah. The
Done.
self-isolation thing is a big thing. Like, that's a problem.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. We're social. Humans are social. Hey, if you're feeling isolated, listen to this podcast. If you have friends who are isolated, tell them to listen to this podcast. It's kind of like they're hanging out with me and Taylor, and we're great people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on. So when the
I see what
boys
you're
were
saying.
14, thank you.
Yes.
So we always get around to agreeing. It just takes like a
We agree
while.
on like most things. Yes, you're right, but it takes a second.
It takes a
That's why we're
second.
fun. It's the banter. It's the wait, what?
Exactly. Exactly.
I just
So going back to Igor and Victor. So when they were 14, they finally met, became friends, and realized that they like had this like kindred spirits in each other. They did some stuff that was kind of cute. Like it was a little bit Stand By Me-ish. So one thing they did was that one of them
hmm
had like a huge fear of heights. Well, I mean, that they both kind of had a fear of heights. They lived on the 14th floor of this
hmm
apartment building. And so what they did was they decided that they're going to overcome their fear of heights. So they go out onto this balcony on this 14th floor of this building, and they go over the railing to
hmm
the other side and just stand on the other side of the railing looking down, which is like ballsy as shit. Like
That is. That's
I'm
I'm
like
scared. That
kind of
is scary.
impressed by it. Like a 14
Yeah.
year old dude. I mean, I guess you have to be 14 to do that because like there's no chance. I'm terrified of heights. There's no chance I would do that.
Yeah.
They would basically do like sort of weird kid stuff like this. Their hobbies would gradually grow to be a little bit darker over time. And this is around the time when a third, like minor character, a much less important character in their lives gets introduced. His name is Alexander Gensha,
hmm
something like that. I'm gonna call him Alex. So Alex was like kind of the normal one, which like basically contributes to why he's a minor character and all this. He had
hmm
a normal childhood. Like his parents raised him, they were around, they were normal, they weren't like raging alcoholics. He did well in school, he was part of social activities, he was doing extracurricular stuff. Like he was
hmm
mostly a normal kid. So he also met Victor and Igor when they were all 14. And Alex
Hmm.
had like a huge fear and aversion towards blood. So that was his thing. And Victor and Igor told them about their little balcony experiment, and so they decided to help fix Alex's blood problem, which I don't know why you have to fix that. Like that's not like I mean, how
Right,
often do
like
you come
just
in
don't be a
contact with
doctor.
blood? Yeah, yeah. The options are just like don't fucking like if you have a paper cut, have someone else tend to it. Like it's not that big of a deal. So they they decided
I
to
agree.
round up this part you might like. No, that's being I shouldn't say that. So they just I would try the previous statement. They decided to round up stray dogs and like just torture them to death.
I
And
don't
so
wish any ill will on dogs. I just think it's weird to have them in the office. And I know I'm the minority on that one, but I feel like there's more people like me who are afraid to speak up because they're going to be persecuted.
do you feel persecuted right now?
I do a little bit. People like think I'm a bad person, and I'm like, I'm a really good person, and I don't wish any ill will towards dogs. And if I could have one, I probably would, but I can't. So just, I don't want to be near them.
Fair enough.
Okay,
I retract my statement. So
thank you.
they would round up stray dogs and they would hang them from trees. They would cut their bellies open. They would disembowel them. They would record all this stuff. Hold on. Speaking of dogs being annoying, mine are going wild over there.
Your dog can hear you saying that. Yeah. Wait, you didn't tell me what you named the old dog. What'd you name the old dog?
Ruth, Ruth, because she's old. She's
Ruth.
so old. She's like it's like an old lady.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, she's a cutie.
That's really cute.
Yeah, she's sweet. Okay, so they would round up stray dogs. They would hang them from trees. They would cut them open. They would record all of this stuff. They would, and this is the part where like it came up. They were drawing swastikas because like they would take pictures of this. They would record it. They would take pictures of it. They would draw swastikas with the blood of the dead dogs. Like it was like a little over the top. The worst one that I read was they found this poor little white kitten, and
Hmm.
and they nailed it to a fucking cross alive. Yeah, and then
No, that's awful.
they shoved a bunch of glue and foam into its mouth, and as it was screaming, and then they started like using it for target practice with their little 22 pistol. It was really gross.
No,
I don't like
they're
that one.
definitely not good. And you know what I was thinking about the swastika thing? I don't obviously like with that and like the Confederate thing, like those people lost. Like Hitler, they very much lost. Like, why would you be excited about that?
It's an ideology. That's
Like
the
they
thing.
lost.
With like, there's something about that ideology, especially in Russia, that's like fucking scary. Like I don't know what it is, but like there's an
Yeah,
undercurrent to it
it's
that's
scary.
like, yeah, like it's like people who like have nothing, and I don't know. I do think there's a big part of
Hmm.
that, which is like if you were raised to be like a somebody in your country and you're a fucking loser, then you just gravitate towards that dangerous ideology. Like no out and
Hmm.
proud white supremacist is like a brain doctor,
Doing really
you
well.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it totally makes
So
sense.
so
A
again,
brain doctor.
is that what they're called?
I don't think so, but keep
Okay.
going.
So moving on.
Mhm.
Going through this thing. So again,
You got
remember
it.
they recorded everything, and that's basically the reason
Hmm.
why they ended up being as famous as they ended up becoming. So they started going past animals into human murder on June 25th of 2027, or sorry, of 2007. So the one thing to note is that this spree was like frenetic. It was like,
Hmm.
hold on. So between the start and the end of the murders was about 30 days. Like, it was like
Wow. What?
crazy fast. It was crazy
Wow.
fast. So they started the human murders on June 25th of 2007. On that day, the way it's been narrated was that this 33-year-old woman named Yekaterina was walking home after having tea with a friend. Igor and Victor were walking by her, and Igor was holding a hammer. And seemingly on a whim and like seemingly not premeditated, as they walked by each other, Igor just swings the hammer around, just bashes her in the head, and just fucking beats her to death with it.
Oh my
So
God.
I don't know. I don't know. There's no indications. There's so many rumors about this. I'll tell you the rumors later. But there's no
Hmm.
rhyme or reason behind it. Like there was no obvious motive behind any of this. Like there was no money involved. Like nothing. It was just she was walking by and he was like, "Well, fuck, I got a hammer. I'm just gonna do it."
Oh my
But
God. It's awful.
but like that started kind of the blood frenzy. So an hour after killing Yekaterina, they attacked a guy named Roman while he was asleep. He was a homeless guy asleep on a bench. They beat his face so bad in with the hammer that he was unrecognizable. Nobody knew who the fuck this guy was until they were able to check his
Oh
pockets.
no.
They took about a week-long break. Then on July 1st, they attacked someone named Yevgenia and a guy named Nikolaya. They were basically it was two separate instances. This was not a couple that was together or anything. And they basically killed and bashed both their faces in at the same time, or on that day. Then 5 days later, July 6th, they killed 3 people. So one was a guy named Igor. He was an Army Reserve guy who was walking home from a nightclub, and he was beat to death with a hammer. Which shows like it wasn't just like defenseless people. Like it was like Igor sounds like he was
Right.
like a normal, like he could have fended for himself, but they just didn't give a shit. The rest of them don't seem that way. The rest of them seem like they're just like horrible, like victim. Like there's like vulnerable people basically.
Yeah.
On that day, okay, so after Igor, they killed Yelena, who was a 20-year-old security guard. They were also beaten to death, or she was also beaten to death. Then they attacked a mother named Valentina, killing her. She was a mother of like 3 and had like a disabled husband or something, and she was just working as provide for the family.
No.
A day later, on July 7th, they attacked 2 14-year-old boys, killed one, maimed the other, but not so bad that he didn't survive. That kid's name is Vadim. He's going to be important later, so remember that name. His name is Vadim. That kid escaped into the woods.
Were people like afraid? Did people know this was happening?
So here's the thing. Police had an investigation running. When these bodies started being found, they had an investigation running, but they never told the general public. And so what ended up happening was the rumors just spread amongst the public themselves, where they talked amongst each other and were like, something is going on. Like basically, towards the middle of like July of 2007, nobody would walk around after dark alone. Like it was like a known thing. So the community was self-policing essentially.
Yeah.
So 5 days after killing that one kid and attacking the other one and him surviving, they killed a guy I'm going to cover in a lot more detail later on. So I'm just going to drop the fact that it was 5 days after this one killing that they killed this other guy. I'll come back to him. 2 days later.
Does this have like a record for the fastest anyone's ever killed people?
I don't know. Like, I did.
You don't hear anything like this.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was like a blood frenzy. It was wild. I can't think of anyone that I don't know. Yeah, I can't think of anyone that killed like this many people this quickly. Because I'm gonna actually stop talking about the murders and just say, and then 12 people died in a minute because I can't keep saying this. So 2 days after the guy I'm gonna cover later, on July 14th, they killed a 45-year-old woman named Natalia. They shoved her off her scooter as she rode past them and then beat her to death with a hammer. That same day, they killed a homeless guy named Nikolai. So, like, they're doing multiples in a day. And then, again, I'm not going to say, whatever. Just over the next 7 days, they killed about 12 more bodies showed up that were all beaten to death in the face with a hammer. So, take it for what you will.
Wow.
There's stories out there about them killing a pregnant woman, which they actually did kill a pregnant woman. But the stories that you read out there are that they cut her open and took the fetus out of her. But, like, those are rumors. Like, that is not part of any of the actual investigation reports that the police produce. It's, like, more of, like, embellishment, like, fantasy embellishment of, like, internet horror shit. So,
oh, my God.
So, July 7th is the day I mentioned earlier, which is when those 2 14-year-old boys were attacked. That's when police started getting, like, really involved in this and thinking there's something going on that's connecting all these together. So, one part of this investigation was they arrested that kid Vadim, that 14-year-old, because they thought that he was the one responsible for killing his friend. And apparently they beat the shit out of this kid. Like 14. They beat the
police?
Again, yeah. Crazy. So Vadim, in the middle of being coerced into trying to give a confession and being beaten to death, he gave a detailed description of his attackers, and police started to basically put together that, like, hey, the way this kid was attacked and the way that these bodies were found all kind of look alike. It was 2 guys, a hammer, so on and so forth. Not only that, but during the murder of Natalia, there were 2 kids who were hidden who witnessed the murder, and they also showed up to the police station and gave a detailed description that matched Vadim's description of the killers. Whoa. On July 23rd, Igor, one of the perpetrators, He tried to sell a cell phone he lifted off of a murder victim at a pawn shop. By that point, the police had found the guy's body. They knew he had a cell phone. They knew that the cell phone wasn't on him, and so they basically put a tracer on it. And so whenever the
Hmm.
pawn shop owner turned it on to see if it's functional, uh, it pinged the tower. They triangulated where it was. They go to the pawn shop. The pawn shop, the boys are in the pawn shop trying to at the time, like when this is going
Wow.
on, and so they're literally arrested there at the cash register apparently. Alex, the friend I mentioned earlier who had the aversion to blood, he was arrested at his home, and during his arrest, it was found that he had a bunch of items that was lifted off of the different victims. He was trying to like get rid of, like, trying to flush stuff down the
Hmm.
toilet and stuff like that. Obviously, they're charged with a ton of crimes. So Igor is
Hmm.
charged with 21 counts of murder, 8 counts of armed robbery, and 1 count of animal cruelty. Victor has 18 murders, 5 robberies, and 1 count of cruelty. Alex
Oh
has
my
two
God.
counts of armed robbery. Because I didn't mention this, but like in the middle of all this, they were also just like sticking people up and robbing them. So like that was the lesser of their crimes, and that's where Alex was very involved.
Hmm.
So Victor and Alex confessed. Again, it being Ukraine, I'm sure there was some coercion around, but given the fact that there was video evidence, like it didn't really matter. They were going to get convicted anyways. Igor maintained his innocence, saying he didn't do any of this. So because they videotaped their crimes, there really wasn't much of a defense for Igor. The only defense that he really had was trying to claim insanity, like an insanity defense. And
Hmm.
I looked
Hmm.
up what the insanity defense is in Ukraine. I don't actually know what it is. I couldn't find legal documentation on how they reference it. So I'll just like articulate how it's defined here in the US, which is like probably similar to theirs. So in the US, insanity is established by proving that someone, due to a mental defect, was unable to control their actions or that they were unable to understand the wrongfulness of their actions. So basically, let's say like you chop someone's head off. Like you get into a fight and you like cut their head off.
Hmm.
Your best bet to like go to a cushy mental hospital for the next like 6 years is like wear their head like a hat. Like walk around, wear their head on a hat, and you should be fine. If you try and hide the fact that
Hmm.
you killed that person and bury them or do something, then it proves that you knew what you did was wrong and that you're not insane. So
Right.
that's how
That
you
makes
get out of
sense.
it. In this case,
Yeah.
they knew it was wrong because they weren't like prancing around with like the entrails of dogs around them. Like they were like just videotaping themselves and being jerk off, stealing stuff and trying to pawn it off at the store. So,
Oh my God.
and they try to cover their tracks with the idea. So I'm going to get to that one victim, July 12th. That is the infamous Three Guys, One Hammer video. That guy's
Hmm.
name is Sergey Yatsenko. So Sergey was a 48-year-old cancer survivor, and he actually had a profession, but because of his cancer, he couldn't actually work very well. And he was just basically learning how to talk again when this event ended up happening. Like, he had gone through his chemo, he'd done all that stuff, the surgeries, all that. So he was just getting back on the mend. He was married, he had kids, he
Oh.
actually had one grandchild as well. And we don't really know the details of how things came about. All we know is what's in the video. And what's in the video, which
Hmm.
again, didn't watch, not going to, you can if you want. It starts with Sergey on his back in a wooded area,
Hmm.
and he is being cracked in the face with a hammer that's inside of a plastic bag.
Oh my God.
Well, one of the boys takes a giant screwdriver and plunges it into his eyeballs and into his stomach. And they do this multiple times, and then the other boy continues beating him in the face and the head with the hammer.
Oh my
And they're
God.
throughout all this, they're laughing, they're talking, they're joking around with each other. At one point in Russian, they reference how weird it was that he was still kind of breathing when the screwdriver got plunged into his brain. So they're
Oh
like
my God.
they're discussing this. The one thing that I read was that the worst part of this video is the sound of gurgling of blood as he's trying
Oh
to breathe.
God.
But it's a really, really bad video. And throughout this whole thing, they're laughing and joking
Yeah.
about it. And it sounds like they're doing this next to a pretty major road. because you can hear a car.
Hmm.
And at one point, it sounds like they basically take a pause because it sounds like a car is getting kind of close to them, and so they take a breather,
Hmm.
and then the sound goes away, and they continue on with their melee. So
Oh my God.
that was a video of that was played in court by the prosecution. It caused a ton. So nobody knew this existed until the day it was played in court. So I can't imagine this wasn't like a jury trial; it was a bench trial with like a panel of 5 judges.
Okay.
But I can't imagine like seeing this shit. They were watching this. They were watching the animal torture videos. There was obviously a correlation between this murder and like the 20 preceding murders
Yeah,
where they're all bashed in the face with a hammer, and they're all
100%.
recorded on it. There was actually video of them attending the funeral of the people they killed, and they would
Oh
like
no.
be flicking off the. I mean, I looked at the still images of this because I didn't want to watch the video, but there's like still images of them flicking off like the corpse of the people they killed at their own funeral. Like, they're such horrible fucking monsters. Like, they're just absolutely
Fucking
the worst
Christ.
force
Absolute
humans in the
worst.
world. And so
Oh my God.
there's all this controversy. Igor's dad is a lawyer himself, and so he took on his defense, and he was saying that, hey, there was other people that could have done this. There was like, it was like, dude, you know what, man? Assume that they didn't kill the other 20, and they only killed this guy and the cats and the dogs. They should still fucking go to jail forever. Like they're on
Yeah.
video. The judge actually asked one of them at trial. They were like, "Is this you on the video?" And he was like, it's kind of hard to tell." And the judge was like, "You have eyes, don't you?" It was like, obviously it was you. I'm looking at your face. I'm looking at the
Yeah.
video. Also, this is like 2008. They didn't have fucking like crazy CGI where they're like recreating things. Like also,
Right. No, it's
even
definitely them.
even if you did it today, it would still look kind of fake. So yeah, it was obviously
Yeah,
them.
because people don't do that. It's awful.
Exactly. So the long story short is that Ukraine, much like I mentioned last week with Russia, they don't have a death penalty, and so
Hmm.
these two ended up getting life sentences. They're apparently doing great in jail. Like their parents, their parents are like talking about how like they're being treated really well, everything's fine. Like I don't know why they get the respect they get, but they're serving a life sentence in
Ew.
prison. And
Are they
Alex,
together?
they are in the same prison, but they're not in the same cell.
Got it.
But Alex, he ended up getting a 9 year sentence. He was released in 2019. And so he's out running around in Ukraine. He's apparently married. He apparently has kids now. And I don't know. By all accounts, Alex is like, I mean, yeah, I guess you're kind of guilty by association. Like, don't be friends with people like this. But like, it sounds like he didn't do that much wrong. He just like robbed a bunch of people at gunpoint, which who hasn't?
You
Who
still have to go to jail
hasn't?
for that.
Who hasn't done that?
Mm, hmm.
So yeah, these guys are going to be in prison for the rest of their lives.
Yikes.
I forgot what it was. It was like 15
Good.
life. It doesn't matter. Like it's 15 life sentences. They have enough life sentences where they're never going to get out of jail. I don't get this one because so there's discussions around like what could have driven them to do it. Obviously, they were stealing stuff off the bodies, but you can steal stuff without doing what they did. They had a perverted
Yeah.
sense of desire for like violence, and so
Hmm.
one stipulation was that they were gonna like sell these as like snuff videos or something. Like
Right. Like, what were they doing the videos for? Like, were they like, yeah, like, where do they find them? Like, in their rooms?
I don't know.
Like, on their cell phones? Like, where, like, they didn't really have cell phones, like, with really good cameras. So, was it like a physical camera?
It was okay. So the quality, I've seen still images of the videos enough to like sense that like
Yeah.
this was not done on like a 2007 cell phone because a 2007 cell phone wouldn't look this good. And it doesn't look good,
Okay.
but it looks good enough to where it's not on the 2007 cell phone. So
That's
they
what I
were
mean. So, it's probably on like a,
yeah, like they probably had a camcorder they were recording on.
oh my
And
God.
there was what was it? There was 40 in total. They recovered, I think it was 48 minutes of videos of them. There was other murders that were recorded, but they weren't recorded in this graphic of a detail. This was done in broad daylight. You could clearly see their faces. You clearly see the guy on the ground. Like it was brutal to the next level, and that's why that one got the most popularity. The one thing I couldn't figure out though is why it's called Three Guys One Hammer, because by all accounts it was just Igor and Victor. By all accounts, Alex wasn't there, so I don't know why they call it that. I never figured that
I
out,
don't
and
know.
I'm not gonna
I don't
watch the
want to Google
video.
it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch the
Right. I
video.
don't even want to
So
look it up. I kind of, I don't want to know. Ugh.
yeah, yeah,
That's horrible.
yeah, terrible shit. It's weird. It's like the stuff in Russia is like so much fucking it's like there's a weird callousness to life. It seems like there. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like
Yeah.
projecting, but
Yeah, yeah,
that's what it
yeah.
feels like.
I think a callousness to life is exactly right.
Yeah. So, so yeah,
Because
that's the
it's just
story.
like so cold and horrible up there for everyone. Also, these bangs on this one of them should be in jail for this haircut,
I
you
don't think
know.
those are bangs. I don't know what that is, but I don't know. I call those bangs. When I think of bangs, I think about Zoe Deschanel, not that guy.
He looks terrible.
Yeah, the gross looking. I think okay, so I'm gonna do this.
It's really the no, you go, you tell me. What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna step away from Russia next week because I feel like I'm trying to do too many names I can't pronounce. But this I went down like a YouTube rabbit hole, and this was one of the things that I came out
Mm-hmm.
of with it, and was like,
Mm-hmm.
it's too it's like recent enough to where I kind of remember it, and it's like gross and grody, and it's like two sickos that came together for wrong reasons. Again, just
Yeah.
be nice to people. Like, who knows? These guys probably would have done this anyways, but like, it's hard to think about like draping yourselves in the entrails of a dog if you're like the homecoming king, right? Like, you got other stuff going on.
Sure. I mean, it's not everybody else's responsibility to make sure everyone's fine, but it's also like, you shouldn't bully people in any case. You should be nicer to each other. And I don't know. It's crazy to me how fast this was.
So fast. It was like two, three, four, single
Yeah.
night. Moving on, moving on, moving on. Like, yeah, yeah. Terrible, terrible
You
friendship.
usually just
19 years
you
old.
don't see it like that. You don't see it that fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely like the two of them together. And like would they have done it on their own? Probably not. So the two of them together for whatever reason, where the like that was it. Or like maybe one of them was like needed the other person just to like give them permission to do this somehow, you know?
In the middle of like my whole theory of like victimized kids do awful shit. I went
Hmm.
down researching the Sandy Hook shooting and reading about that kid, and
Hmm.
man, that kid was fucked up. Like, he was.
Hmm.
Do you know he had anorexia nervosa? When they found him, he was 112 pounds. Like, his body was 112 pounds.
I thought that makes sense. I've only seen his face, but it was very thin.
Like, he had like every disorder. He had like autism. He had schizophrenia. He had anorexia. Like, he had everything.
Hmm.
And one of the theories was his mom realized she's like, hey, this kid is just sitting in the basement and just playing video games. He doesn't see sunlight. He doesn't talk to anyone. And so what she was gonna do was like buy an RV and like go on a road trip with him so he could like see other parts of the
Hmm.
world, and maybe like it sounds like she was kind of trying to do something to like snap him out of it,
Yeah,
but
it doesn't sound like he killed her first, right?
yeah,
I don't know. It's scary. It's also scary to like, I mean, I guess for like Igor, the third kid, like if your good kid gets all like tangled up with bad kids, it
yeah.
doesn't like that can happen too, which is terrible. And it's like they were there, of course, so they're not like
Well,
innocent, but
no,
also like,
Alex was the better one. Alex was the one who was only
oh,
charged with
Alex.
armed robberies. Yeah.
And he had good parents
Hmm?
in this thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Alex. Yeah. Like I feel like he was just like sucked into this by these guys who are like, we'll help you get over your fear of blood in the most bloody way possible.
He's like, I'm okay. I don't need to get over this fear. This is rational.
Yeah. I'm gonna be an accountant. It's fine.
That story was awful.
Uh,
Like, rereading Sandy Hook, I was like, holy shit. Like, I mean, that was 11
it's the
years
worst thing
ago.
imaginable. Oh, it's
Yeah,
terrible.
that was 11 years ago. It was fucking crazy. Um,
Just absolutely the worst thing possible.
yeah,
Ugh.
yeah. Anyways, that's my story for
Great.
today. I will veer us away from Russia because I need to stop doing people whose names I can't pronounce. And
That's
yeah,
right.
next week I'll come with something new, somewhere new.
I'm gonna go way back again. I'm gonna go to ancient times next week.
Persia,
Because
ancient
my
Persia.
calendar I know I need to go to okay, I'm gonna go to ancient Persia sometime soon. I can't find anything in ancient Persia, but I will find something. And because I promised you I would, and I definitely will, and I'm super interested. So yeah, if you are an ancient Persian historian, please give me an email so that you can help me pick up a story, but I will find one. And I promised I would. We have plenty of time, I hope.
As plenty
Maybe
of
not.
time. Yes. As a reminder, please
Yeah.
do write. We do love getting emails. doomtofailpod@gmail.com. Follow us on all the socials. Taylor's doing an awesome job of posting a ton of really fun content. Should we talk about our like advertising that's coming out?
Yeah.
What's the
Like,
name of the
no,
magazine?
script. Oh, no, I can't remember.
Spin?
Let's wait. Nope.
Okay.
We bought a little ad in a magazine. We'll see what happens. And yeah, we're trying to get in front of more people. So please, help us and share and tell your friends. I know a lot of you already have, and that's super awesome. So I really appreciate everyone who we hear from pretty often. It's
Yes.
exciting.
It is so fun to see our listenership like grow. Like it's like the coolest thing.
hmm It's so cool.
So,
And well, oh wait, I wanted to shout out that person in that town in England. Hold on. There's someone who in the past couple weeks who downloaded a ton in a tiny town that I can't find right now. I'll find it. Like I like looking at people in like Cork and Littleborough and Whitehaven and Newcastle upon Tyne. How lovely. Hello. One person in
hey,
Budapest.
our two downloads
I love
in
it.
Bentley, East Australia. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Buenos Aires, two people there, two people in
Nin-
Sao Paulo. That's dope.
19 in Auckland.
Amazing.
Shout out to Auckland.
Amazing. Yeah. So that's fun. We have a map that we can see where y'all are, and it's very exciting. So thanks, everyone.
Sweet. And
Go.
thank
Yeah,
you,
Doom to Fail Pod
Taylor.
everywhere.
Yes, Doom to Fall Pod at
Farmers.
everything.
I'm gonna go try to
And
have not terrible dreams tonight, but I don't know.
try to do your best. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off. Thank you.